Okay, please take your seats. Too bad there's so much plastic in this room, or we could cling a glass, but I don't know if that's going to work here. All right, we are about to kick off this panel with a video. YouTube has got nothing on us because we got a great video to show you, and I'm going to turn it over to the WVU team to let that roll now.
It is an incredible time to be in West Virginia.
Opportunity is everywhere, if you know where to look. Did you know that West Virginia is currently undergoing its largest economic growth in a decade? This is due to a rich collaboration with public, private, and academic sectors focusing on creating a business-friendly environment that's both talent-rich and policy-friendly.
This state is setting record growth after record after record, record surplus after record after record, record unemployment. In 2021, more than $1.1 billion was invested in West Virginia by 39 different companies through economic development efforts and activities.
The Mountain State's transition to an innovative economy using AI, green technologies, and digital health is already in motion, and globally significant companies are paying attention.
Nucor Corporation will build a $2.7 billion steel sheet mill just down the road in Apple Grove. This new mill will bring 800 full-time jobs to the area and 1,000 construction jobs while it's being built.
The advantages of West Virginia are no longer a secret. The transformation of West Virginia leaning into the future of innovation is no accident.
Would you move to another state for a chunk of change? That's exactly what the state of West Virginia is asking. Brad Smith, a proud Mountaineer, teamed up with the state of West Virginia to develop an initiative to grow the community in his home state.
My husband and I have dreams of starting businesses that we couldn't have started in DC. Like, we didn't have the capital, or DC didn't have that kind of support. And here it's possible.
There's going to be a large number of people who can live anywhere they want and do their job, and we think West Virginia is the perfect place for them to choose.
We know it's viable, we know it's the right path because it's been done elsewhere and it's been successful.
And don't forget the homegrown talent being developed through a strong university system, as well as West Virginia's tuition-free technical colleges, creating a workforce for advanced manufacturing firms like Green Power.
I believe that all job creation across our country will come from startups or small companies. I think West Virginia can lead. It starts with a great university.
As a community, we must continue to be curious and use new knowledge to change lives for the better.
The state, known for its coal mining industry, now in a partnership with a Canadian EV maker called Green Power Motor Company to manufacture zero-emission school buses. Fraser, why West Virginia?
We ultimately determined that we needed the right facility that was ready for production almost immediately, and a partnership with the locale and the local state. So we found that in West Virginia.
By now, it's no surprise that West Virginia's business policies and incentives favor next-generation companies. At this very moment, West Virginia is pursuing an emerging innovation economy with a growing list of powerful, groundbreaking companies who see the advantage of a business-friendly, talent-rich, and resource-ready state that's being built to help meet the challenges of today for a better tomorrow.
I, for one, am ready to commit this legislature to helping us put West Virginia on a path to make it easier to simply choose West Virginia.
Opportunity is everywhere, if you know where to look. Choose West Virginia.
There we go. Brian Ferris is new cook. Mr. Anthony is new.
Great, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your lunch as we roll into this panel, which is a long-awaited convening of these three tremendous thought leaders in the state. So I am incredibly honored to be moderating this panel, so thank you all for being here. We learned that Gordon really has just flown in from California, so I asked Senator Manchin to nod you if you nod off over there from travel.
You didn't come and ride, did you?
We're going to have mostly just an open discussion, giving these gentlemen freedom to take the conversation in any direction they want to. I'll kick off a few questions. But the Focus Forward concept, as you've heard about today, and which has outlined all the programs we've done to date, is on the left side of the program, has really been growing to the point where it is today. I have the absolute pleasure and honor to serve as the president of the Benedum Foundation, and we've been really engaged in this program because philanthropy is the perfect player to kind of host and be an honest broker of everyone, and letting all walks of life and all sectors come together just to have meaningful discussion. But as I was thinking about the privilege of moderating this panel, I think that the definition of philanthropy is something along the lines of a love of humanity. And what we've heard throughout the entire day today has been much about that very same concept from the private sector, from the public sector, from education. And today I think this, the gentlemen on stage here have devoted their entire lives to a similar mission in support of the state of West Virginia. So in tying together the information we learned this morning, both from the companies and from the academics that we selected to talk about energy and energy transition, it brings, of course, to the forefront for everyone in this room the unbelievable moment in time we are facing right now with what this Congress has done to elevate funding streams in ways that are being intentionally directed in places that it had not been prior. So I'm going to kind of kick off this panel with Senator Manchin, reflecting on just how important the U.S. Congress of the past 2 years has been in passing some incredibly important legislation that's not only supported families and strengthened communities, but it's been a place to spur innovation. And everyone is hungry for that. You see the group here has been hungry for that. West Virginia is hungry for that. So first, I think we all just want to thank you for really seeing these things over the finish line, because the hope and the opportunity that sort of awaits us all is really linked to a lot of that. But just turn it over to you to talk more about what's most exciting and how really this all really came together with this particular Congress and under this administration.
Well, under the 117th Congress, all of us in this room have lived through historic times. We've never had Congress that divided for that long in the history of this great country. So with that, you can do two things, nothing or a lot. You can realize you have to work together. So throw the D's and the R's out the window and basically come together as Americans and say, okay, what can we do? We have challenges. We never thought we saw any, had no idea how to handle the COVID and the pandemic. We knew that we had a health crisis, which would turn in eventually to a financial crisis if we didn't act. And how do you take advantage of that? So then we start looking at things. Well, the president put some pretty large ambitions out there, which I thought was maybe a little bit more of an overreach than we needed. So after that happened, we started negotiating. But basically, we had a foundation to where I came to the realization to explain to people they didn't realize you cannot eliminate your way to a cleaner environment. You can innovate your way to a clean environment. You can't eliminate it. So the far left and the far right, once we got past the shouting of each other, we got the moderate group together. We had 5 Ds and 5 Rs that sat down and started working. First of all, Lisa Murkowski and I worked the 2020, which is the Energy Act. There's 4 major pieces. But what you're dealing with today and seeing the renaissance of energy in America, we've gone from last place in the world to first place from innovation overnight with the Inflation Reduction Act. And I can explain why that happened. First of all, we had the Energy Act, hadn't done anything in 20 years. Then we had the bipartisan infrastructure. There's $100 billion that my committee and I worked on in that piece of legislation, which gave us energy hubs and gave us basically a pathway to cleaner technology. Then we came back with the Inflation Reduction Act, which gives you 2 pathways. You have, for 10 years, you have a pathway to produce more fossil energy, cleaner than anywhere in the world, while we're developing the new technology for the future. Now, and someone says, well, we want to go all one way or the other. And I said, well, if you want to go all towards renewables, thinking that would work, then you only have to look to our allies and friends in Europe. It didn't work. Ask Angela Merkel. Didn't work. They got rid of their coal and their nukes before they had anything to replace it. And they got themselves caught. They got dependent on cheap Russian energy. The Ukraine war changed everything on top of that. So we had a piggyback. You had COVID and the Ukraine war. We were told the Ukraine war would last 2 weeks by the top intelligence of the whole world. 2 weeks. They were basically, we knew exactly the time and the minute the war would start, but it'd be like Crimea. It wouldn't last because the Bolshevik mentality throwing everything out. So we had all this to deal with. But I can tell you, that raised everyone's heightened attention towards Putin weaponized energy. Putin weaponized. Now, if Putin weaponized energy and is putting a hurting on our allies, if we can't come to their aid, they're going to get somewhere in the world services, and it might be from unwilling actors or China's and Russians and the Iranians and the North Koreans and all the actors who don't have our values. That's what I was scared of. That's why we started the bills. And that's how the bills got their footing, to where people says, okay, well, we did the IRA, we wrote the IRA in secrecy because I never thought that the administration would ever accept it. It was a balanced bill. And if they were moving to get rid of fossil before its time, then that's where I thought if that's where their desires were, that would never work. Well, from March, we started writing the bill in March, and by August, by the end of June, April, May, June, President's poll numbers were in the tank. Gas was over $4. Inflation was 9.1%. They called me. They said, you got anything? I said, oh, I think we got something. So we had a tremendous staff, 18 of us working on it day and night, and we thought we had a balanced bill. And they called and said, we want to negotiate. And I said, it's not negotiable. I said, you don't need my vote. I mean, you need my vote. I don't need your vote. And the bottom line is that we had to find a balanced approach. And it was my chance to be able to use, in the unlikely position I was in, being a swing vote, to say, I'm willing to work with you as long as we have a balanced approach. So that's what we've done. The technology is coming here because West Virginia's been a heavy lifting state. You know, we exported 30 million megawatts of power. That's on top. We exported 30 million megawatts of power last year out of the state, on top of what we use to consume. So we've been a heavy lifter in energy forever. But we have to have our eyes open and be able to understand transition is going to happen. We're in the mix right now. Our mix in the PJM is over 35% for coal, what we put into PJM. Without West Virginia in the PJM, which is the largest distribution of power in the country, 60 million people plus depend on this system. West Virginia is the backbone of that system because of coal. So you can't take us off the line until we have something else to do it. So we did hydrogen. Hydrogen's big. You're seeing a lot of technology. Electrolyzers, we need to basically perfect that. The thing with energy is this. If you have wind and solar, and you look back in 2009, when Obama came in, 2009, wind and solar, the cost was 15, 16, 17 cents a kilowatt hour, okay? Not even competitive with anything, coal or gas. They put $100 billion in 10 years of production tax credits and investment tax credits and brought the technology down to where now it's at 5 and 6 cents. We have hydrogen that no one's ever spent a penny on, but we've had it around for years. We tried in the 90s at one time to make a move on hydrogen. No one picked up on it. So if we can put the money that we have before and shown how we can mature our technology, hydrogen is a heavy lifter. It has the horsepower to run the country. Okay? It can fill in, and it can basically reduce your emissions if you're going to still use coal and gas and oil. The trick to this whole piece of legislation was this, trying to get the environmentalists and the industrialists together to understand we're in this together. So if you want to put a windmill in the Gulf of Mexico or a wind farm, we're going to have to be extracting oil and gas. If you want to put solar, 10,000-acre solar farm on the deserts of the BLM land, which we have oversight on, you've got to be extracting rare earth minerals and things of that sort. We've got to start working together. And then electric vehicles, the president was going down a path when he and I talked. I said, Mr. President, this will be the first time in history that the United States of America has not been able to control its own destiny with its transportation mode. I said, it is crazy. I said, I'm old enough to remember standing in line to buy gas to go to work in 1974. I sure as heck don't want to stand in line and wait for a battery from China to run a car. I'm just not going to do it. He said, oh, Joe, we got to go. I said, how are you going to go? We have nothing. We got no manufacturing. We got no economies of scale. We can't do it. So we wrote the bill, and Ford Motor beat the living crap out of me for about a couple months. And I told them, I said, guys, I'm not going to give you 75 cents, let alone $7,500. And I said, they kept beating on me. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's make sure our country gets something. I'll give you $37.50 on a vehicle, electric vehicle, if you source the critical minerals it takes to make the battery and you process it. You'll get the other $37.50 if you manufacture the battery and the car in North America. That's your $7,500. Now, without that, fine. Now, I think you know I'm in a tiff with the president right now on they're trying to liberalize it to put more out there so it basically does not exceed or it doesn't give the urgency to build the manufacturing as quickly as I want here. And I use my theory on this. They said, oh, 2 years is not enough. We can't do it in 2 years. I said, they told us it'd be 5 years to get a vaccine for COVID. Did it in 9 months. Come on, guys, get off your butt and you can do it. So we'll see how this works out with the president and the courts. We'll see how that works out. But I want manufacturing back here. I don't want to depend on China. We have to get rare earth metals sourced back here. We have to process them and manufacture them. And West Virginia is right in the middle. They look at us as a state that's more dependent on fossil than anywhere in the world. Oh, I've got the far left wanting to say, how quick can we change? Well, I'll change as quick as you find something that'll work. So let me do, if you want to find out, then come here and invest. And we'll find out if there's a possibility when those intersect. When one takes the place of the other, then you'll be fine. We can talk forever, I'm sorry.
You know, this felt to me like the
There's
rubber
a lot
meeting.
going on, guys. Just hang on. The ride's coming.
This felt like the rubber meeting the road from what Nathan laid out this morning. I was rereading the 6 kind of points he had on what it's going to take from capital excellence through strengthening supply chain and accelerating technologies. I mean, this reshoring piece is really important.
If I can say one thing, Jen, I had President Macron come after me. It was like a Scud missile. We were in the White House and there was a meeting, and he saw me, and he must have done my son. He's the one that wrote that bill, and he says, "You're killing my country. You're doing." I said, "Oh, Mr. President." I said, "I can assure you, there was not one word ever spoken in the 3 or 4 months we were working this bill. How can we harm our good friends in France? Not one word was ever spoken, and we talked more about." How come we aren't able to help our allies quick enough? Why don't we have enough energy to help them? That's what brought this catalyst together. So, and then I had Scholz, Chancellor of Germany. He came after me, and we did had the same little roundabout. And I told him, I said, "Sir, listen, let me just tell you all about something. You all have used carbon pricing and cap and trade, telling me for 12 years I've been a senator, that if you don't do this, we can't fix the climate. We're never going to fix the climate unless you start penalizing people for everything they use that's made with carbon. Well, everything we have has carbon in the production. So you can put a tax to anything you have." I said, the difference between you and the United States, we used a carrot, you've used a stick. The stick is not proof that you're using that resource by the tax revenues to find out new technology that will make that table with less carbon. You put it in your social services and haven't done a thing with it. We're putting this direct investment into the new technology of the future. That's the difference. Now they're all hustling trying to catch up.
We need to get you a security detail, don't we? I mean, the French and the Germans, I mean, you have really alienated everyone.
Whenever you come between the French and the Germans, you got a problem.
I know. Well, if I were you, I'd have said, President Macron, maybe if the French worked a little harder, that would be helpful to them.
I need you for my diplomatic services.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, this is the perfect time to switch over to President Gee. In the same kind of motion of what's been happening through the Inflation Reduction Act and lots of the opportunities that are coming down the pike, I should have mentioned even with Senator Manchin, the interagency working group on coal. I mean, that's also just a tremendous thing like we have never seen, making these funding streams and opportunities more efficient for coal communities. But President Key, one of the things that I've been really impressed with, and Valerie Karplis ended her slide showing some of the partnerships that are happening with these federal grants, like the ones coming through the National Science Foundation, and particularly the Engines grants. And in planning this event, it came up pretty naturally, all of the faculty members across the state that are working on really important projects. So the question I have for you is, as I've been seeing WVU leading the effort to apply for some of these really big research grants and also partner even across state lines with other institutions, how much of a game changer do you think these will be for the state, and how is WVU changing sort of maybe some of your approaches to meet the times right now?
Well, first of all, I just want to acknowledge that this conference is amazing, Donna. Yeah. Thank you very much. And where is Gail Manchin? Where are you?
Gail's right back there.
Yeah, Gail, listen. Gail and I met at Blaney House, came up with this screwy notion of having an educational consortium, and look at where it's come, Gail. I tell you, she is the mother of this whole thing today, so I just want to acknowledge her, and I really appreciate that. And Senator, we appreciate it. Yes, absolutely. And Senator, we appreciate your good work. I just want to, it's a privilege to have the opportunity to share.
And we'll send you to France.
He's going to send me to France. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, let me just say that I think that I really do honestly believe this. I believe this is West Virginia's time. Mm-hmm. I think the only danger we have in front of us is that we'll squander this moment. Sometimes, and I see some of our political friends here. Senator Clements is one of the best people we have in the state Senate. We've got Senator, obviously Senator Oliverio. We've got Senator Queen. We've got a number of them, and they're doing just a terrific job. But I think that we all worry about the fact that at the moment we've got so much happening that is positive that we need to make certain that we are very fast forward, to use the term. And in terms of the universities, and I'm just talking here because, as you know, we have this concept we call Universities United, and it's become a very powerful notion that we work together, we have no competition, we have only collaboration, we play in each other's lane, and we also make certain that we keep in our own lanes in certain things. But what we're discovering is the fact that when we work together as a small state, where we can get everyone in a telephone booth very quickly, and we can make decisions very quickly, that we can outperform. I was just in California. You heard that. I mean, what a mess. And no, it really is, because first of all, they can't make any decisions. I mean, and it's kind of like whack-a-mole. So that's the reason you moved, I know. But number one. Number two is the fact that we are so well positioned. We just are naming a new basketball coach today, moving from Texas, and they had done all of this research about West Virginia. And the first thing they said, it's a place in which there's such great passion. And I think that we have to understand that. And so there are many geniuses in West Virginia there are in California. The problem is that we need to now discover that, and we need to unearth that. And so that's what we're doing. And with all of the research that we're doing, what we're discovering is we're going to differentiate ourselves. We're not going to go directly we're not going to win the intel battle with Columbus, because the fact they have flat land. And they have flatlanders too, but they have flat land, but we are going to win all the ancillary issues in terms of building batteries, in terms of building, doing the rare earth elements, a variety of other things. And thanks to our senators, we are receiving a significant amount of really important research dollars that all of a sudden people want to locate here because A, we have an ability to be able to do things, and B, we have the resources, and C, we have people with great grit and determination. I worry a lot about our workforce, and I think that Brad will talk a little bit about that. The question for us is not whether we have the opportunity. The question is now, are we training the right people to do the right thing? The chancellor is right here, And she's working very hard on that. And by the way, I just want to put a shout out to everyone. Thanks for all of your support for our deferred maintenance, which allows us to get into the research business and even more. So we want to make certain that we know that.
Well, it is significant what you say, and the other thing that stood out to me that was actually mentioned by John from Nucor here is I just thought it was a brilliant way to reclassify what we expect from really good workers, responsibility, open to feedback, so important, and then showing up with gratitude. So I think in addition to the passion, there's a natural desire to show up with gratitude in West Virginia that you really don't find in many places, and it's so great to see that valued in your panel earlier. So, President Smith.
Yes.
I will let you pivot off President Gee to talk about workforce if you like, but you don't need to. I think everyone here today is sort of has such deep reverence for what you've done in the technology world and what you've brought to your business life, bringing all that thinking back to West Virginia. And so I guess my question for you is, Marshall University is so important in the quest for research, federal dollars, but also these solutions around energy and innovation. So from your kind of really special background on this panel, in addition to just the federal grants and the bold projects that are out there, what will it take for West Virginia to really be building the technologies of the future?
Well, first of all, Jen, I am really privileged and humbled to be up here with three thought leaders. So I appreciate you inviting me, and I'm also humbled to be a part of the Thundering Mountaineers, as Ward refers to us.
That's a good one.
And I do tease him that blue and yellow make green, but he says that blue and yellow are primary colors. So I've learned not to outwit Gordon. It's also great to see Chancellor Tucker, because this is an ecosystem. All of us collectively work together. She leads us and steers us in ways that is going to make this state stronger, so I want to thank you for that, Sarah. I'll step back and say, whether you're talking about technology, you're talking about energy, you're talking about one common theme, which is innovation. And if you look up the definition of innovation, it says to bring something new to the world that never existed, or take something existing and make it profoundly better. And if you unpack what innovation includes, it has two elements. It has inspiration and it has execution. And the good news is we have both in West Virginia. God made us out of grit. He made us out of grace. We celebrate inspiration. We celebrate perspiration. We have always answered the call. I'll come back to that in a minute, but I'll go back to the inspiration piece. There's a methodology that trains and builds capability in individuals and communities on innovation and inspiration, and it is called design thinking. And design thinking teaches you to fall in love with the problem, not your idea. Get deep empathy and understanding. Go deep and figure out what is the problem we're trying to solve. Then the second thing it teaches you to go broad before you go narrow. Come up with at least 7 different ways to solve this problem. And then the third is to run experiments to validate and prove or disprove whether your idea is worth pursuing. We lived through the greatest example of design thinking when we went through COVID. It came with no instructions. We weren't sure if singing happy birthday twice while you washed your hands was going to work, but eventually we found the things that worked. We doubled down, and as the senator said, we got a vaccine in 9 months. So we have to build that into our education system, and we are. We've embraced design thinking. We're building it into our community and technical colleges, our K-12 school systems, a science adventure school with WVU. We have every faculty member, every administrator at Marshall University trained on design thinking, and all first-year students are getting a 6-week module. And so we're building that capability in. Then you go to execution. Thomas Edison once said that an idea, a vision without execution, is merely hallucination. We have to move from ideas to impacts. And I will be critical of myself and of our universities. We can't stop with publications and patents. That's the reason why only 2% of the nation's patents come off of universities and only 0.1% of startups come out of universities. It's not the idea that'll move mountains. We have to work with private industry, make sure we commercialize those ideas, get tech transfer out there, and make sure we're solving problems that matter. So those are the two things that I think we have the opportunity to step up and do, is make sure we're teaching these critical thinking skills, design thinking at all levels of education. And the second is to realize that the idea itself has to be tested and put into market, and it has to solve a problem that matters to your community and to your state. Now, workforce readiness, I'm going to paraphrase my friend here, Senator Manchin. We're a special group in West Virginia. God created a group of individuals that learned how to blaze trails and not follow paths. And we've always answered the call. We came from families that mined the coal, that forged the steel, that built the roads, that carried the trucks, that fought the wars. Our president said we need to put a man on the moon, and we produced Homer Hickam. And the Rocket Boys in October Sky, we needed to get them safely back to Earth. We produced Katherine Johnson and the Hidden Figures. And they need us again. They need a transition energy strategy. They need skilled workforce. They need people who show up with the gratitude of having a job, so much so they hand it down through their families. This is our time. And I couldn't be more privileged to have left California and come back home. My heart never left, but my body's now where my heart is. And I'm looking forward to this next chapter.
Great. I'm so inspired. I feel like I should have you give that speech to my kids. I'm not sure if they blazed trails as much as they broke things and fell out of trees, but I think they still got to the same place. Let me switch gears just a minute to tie kind of this back to a lot of the way I think about investments. And this is more because of I think the tremendous success we've seen in what Benedum's been able to do over the 80 years that we've been in existence. I just want to take a minute also to say I have two trustees here, my board chair, Lloyd Jackson, and Parween Mascari. Oh, Parween's in the corner. And then Melanie, if you'll raise your hand. Melanie's our program officer, Melanie Claxton, for education. So we also have past president Pat Getty, if you'll raise your hand. And I thought I saw Jim DeNova. Jimmy, hey! So we think a lot because of our mandate at Benedum about how philanthropic dollars are different from the other dollars that are out there, but we also think about our devotion to place and how important it is to be a place-based funder. Foundations can be set up in a lot of ways, but Michael Benedum's specific, beautiful philosophy and mandate for us is to invest in place, and that place is West Virginia, a little bit of Pennsylvania, but predominantly West Virginia. And it really, for me, I think that so much of what we've heard today just really resonates with that investment in place. I think it's very different than investments that a person can have for themselves and take somewhere else. Those are also important. Education, for example, can be transported. But in my personal firm belief that we can change entire communities through place-based investments, you all have this critical role in what you've been doing in your own capacities in this way. So I think I just wanted to open up some questions around this. I think it's part of the question for me is about when we have partners in philanthropy for people that are devoted to place-based investment, I will hold up the Appalachian Regional Commission. To a foundation like Benedum, the ARC as a federal partner has been absolutely critical because ARC is also a place model. It's a place-based investor that we can stream with and do great things when it aligns for us. But parts of our communities in West Virginia have had chronic disinvestment, and that's really hard to overturn. But I do think the place mentality and how we devote that into human capital, into projects, into attracting businesses to develop is really important. So maybe I just see who might want to sort of think about that and pivot off how you think about place and the relationships and the investments that you're making and what that can do for the future.
I think we got to start with the senator.
Great, Senator Manchin.
The only thing I can tell you about federal, the state of West Virginia, we put about $10 billion of federal money in this state. And I spoke to all the legislators. I want everyone to understand that day's not coming again. You're not going to see that. We're never going to be cloistered again. We're never going to shut down the government again. We're never going to have in our lifetime, I don't think, because now we're trying to stay ahead of the curve of the new vaccines are going to be needed for what we've identified and what we're identifying are going to be the new COVIDs, the new viruses. It's going to continue to happen. And with that, but we'll never go through what we've gone through. First of all, the public won't accept it again. Next of all, we knew it wasn't productive to do it that way, but we didn't know what to do. So then we start looking, okay, we put a lot of money out. We've been criticized, maybe too much money. We didn't know. All we had to go off of was 2008, 2009, when they were criticized. It took longer to come out of the banking crisis, if they invested more money from the federal government, you might have come out sooner. That's the theory back and forth. I'm not sure on that. John's sitting there. He'll give me a critique on this later. Anyway, then you can put too much money out. So in federal government, you can spend money, you can invest it. We took the bills of energy, of investments. By investing it, then that means every state that's going to be competing for these dollars has to show the return. Perfect example, the hydrogen hub. There's not another state, not another area of this country that's better situated, better prepared to do the hydrogen hub and get more bang for their buck. That'll help this country more than any place else because we have all the resources it takes. Now what we had to do, and I want to thank all the legislators here for getting over the hurdle of nuclear. Because we've had in our law, in our legislation, for years, when I was governor, I couldn't, at that time it wasn't ready, I couldn't get rid of that. I didn't want to have any impediments. We should be looking at all sources of energy. So they finally basically taken that off the books to where it's not, that we can look at that. We were able to bring Bill Gates in. And small modular reactors are something they fit perfect in the footprint of a coal plant that times out. And you can plug, it's like plug and play, all the switch gears there, you got everything ready to go, but you have to have the public that can accept the new technology as it's safe. So we're going through that iteration. So once people understand, the SMRs are a whole new way. Europe's looking at them, everyone's looking at them. It's going to be a big game changer. And it's low pressure and it's molten salt and all this and that. But anyway, so we're looking at investments. I continue to steer the federal government to West Virginia because I said there'll not be a bigger bang for your buck and better return on your investment. Government doesn't think. Government, especially politicians, we all think about, can you spend money and get more votes? That's crazy. Those days are gone. You better show something for it. And I think West Virginia is a place that will show the best return on investment in energy because that's what we've always done. We've got an ocean of energy under us. We're having a hard time getting our gas out because of the environmental concerns. We get sued continuously in the Fourth Circuit. We're trying to get through that. But sooner or later, they're going to understand they've got to have transmission line, bringing new power into the market. And they can't get that unless they can get that transmission right-of-ways. That's not going to happen either. So they're going to have the same roadblocks we're having. Once we all figure out we're in this together, how can we help each other? So the investment, when you're looking at it from a standpoint, you got $8 million yesterday, right?
I did.
We found out.
Waiting for mine today. Is that the announcement that's about to come?
Checks in the mail. The bottom line is they have this whole thing about waste. We've already mined the coal. We've already had the water that's been, and we looked at that as pollution. Now we look at it as a resource. Completely different. But then what a difference a small time makes. And so now we're able to extract critical minerals that we're using every day in our everyday life from a waste product that we had that we didn't know. This is the first generation. You're going to go that and accelerate that to commercial. We have to. And we're going to be able to, I think, show ways that we can be innovative and creative like never before. But again, I'm proud to go back and say, we can do that. There's a lot of places that won't accept the things that we're willing to do. As we said, I've always said, we mind, we're in the heavy lifting. Mine the coal that made the steel to build the guns and ships. We've done it all. And we'll continue to. So bring the battery. Now let me tell you a tough process is the anodes and cathodes making the electric batteries. That is a tough process. And I believe that we could do it in West Virginia better than anywhere else. But we've got to bring it back to America if we're going to basically have a reliable source. And I think we're the best place to do that. So we're trying to do that too.
And could I pick up on that, Jim, where Senator Manchin left off? And you talk about place, and I think back to the work that this state did with the universities and with the federal representatives with McKinsey, I think back in 2016, West Virginia Forward. And what they did is they looked at where does the greatest innovation occur? And it occurs when there's a major secular trend or unsolved problem that you have evidence that you have the ability to solve better than others, and then you have some distinctive advantage that people can't easily replicate. And when they looked at West Virginia objectively from the outside, they said, you are poised perfectly for data, cybersecurity, and forensics. You're outside the Washington, D.C. area where they need to have access to agencies, but you're safe enough outside that area. The second is health sciences, because you're solving problems the rest of the world struggles with as well, but you've been close enough to the problem, you can come up with answers to addiction, to gerontology, to rural health, to obesity and digestive health, to cancer, to neuro, and we have great medical schools solving those things. Then they said advanced manufacturing. You have the skilled workers who know how to do the work. And advanced energy, because you're an energy state. And then the fifth area is entrepreneurism, because we know how to blaze trails and not just follow paths. We know how to do more with less. We're scrappy. And so those are the areas that our education system, our community and technical colleges, we're working together to say, let's go in and innovate and advance in energy in these other areas. And we recognize ourselves in those areas because that's what our grandfathers and our grandmothers did. So I think place plays in our perfect, for us this is potential, unrealized potential. The nation needs us, and we have the solutions that we can help solve problems not only here, but for the rest of the country.
You know, I think also that we underestimate ourselves a lot. I think this is one of the issues. You know, humility is a great characteristic, except when it does not allow us to innovate and be creative because we just don't think we can do it. I love to tell the story about the fact that, so I went to John Chambers. We know John, we love John, one of the greatest CEOs ever to run a company worldwide, literally. And I said to him, I said, John, I want to name the business school after you. And I think he thought I was going to ask him for money then. I didn't. I said, I just want you've done such great work. I want to name our business school after you. And he said, you know, I'll only do that if you'll promise me that you will work with our business school to create a startup mentality. Now, no one thought that, I mean, all the startups in the world were in Silicon Valley and maybe in Boston, but that was it. But John believed that we could be the startup state. And he believed that we had the capacity to do that. Well, I don't know if you just saw the announcement came out. West Virginia now ranks number 3 in terms of startups in the country right now. Can you believe that? And we rank number 6 in terms of a business-friendly atmosphere. All of those things have changed just in the short period of time we've been here because of the fact that we've believed in ourselves and we've started to do that. Now, you know, West Virginians do hard better than anyone else. I mean, I'm not a native West Virginian. You know, I'm a born-again West Virginian. I'm a convert. You know, I'm a devout Mormon, so converts really make a lot of sense to me, you know. But I've got a few. I'm always welcome new members. But anyway, I think the whole point is this: is West Virginians do hard, but that means that you know, you think about it. We succeeded from the Old Dominion. That was hard. You know, we've had these economic cycles. That's hard. But we've had people denigrate us. That's hard. But guess what? Now it's our time, because we've done hard, we can do good. And I think that that's the opportunity that we have right in front of us right now.
The public-private partnership is the big thing, which I would recommend to all of you. Public-private, because federal government, I've always had the approach, government should not be your provider, it should be your partner. Mm-hmm. If government does their job and does it well, you have the best partner in the world. Well, every partnership, you know, I want my partner to succeed because I'm part of that, so we all succeed. And that's what they should look at, and that's where you get your bigger return. Academia sometimes has been looked at, and I can tell you this from sitting in so many committee meetings, well, whatever we vested, it really kind of stops at the door, it doesn't get out. Mm-hmm. That's always been, academia did a great job, you could bring it, but you couldn't get it, you couldn't put it out the door. But when you had a public-private partnership, you had the private part pulling it out the door. Come on. You all were basically innovative and creative, working collaboratively, and then they were pulling it out and putting it in product in the market. That's how it works. And boy, I'll tell you, when you got that train running, there is no stopping it. Yeah. It really, people are looking, everyone wants to have the success they can point to. You know, when you look at what, we just came back from if you haven't been up there, my goodness, you got to go see it. The new beverage company, Morgantown Beverage, 330,000 square feet. You haven't seen anything like this. You have not seen it. They're making dairy products for Starbucks, from Dunkin' Donuts, to everything. This is the most modern in the world, right up here, Morgantown. And they're going to go to, I think, 700,000 square feet. They're going to double the plant. And guess where the workforce came from? Most of it from Ireland. because it's all on chemicals and this and that. So it's just a perfect fit. But they came here, they did the dynamics of what they were looking for, and they found right where they could do it all.
And so quickly after the transition from Milan, that's just so
You wouldn't believe it. I
interesting.
mean, there's 100 and some people up there. Most of them are from Ireland, but I've seen what they're doing. Oh my God, how quickly.
Well, I definitely relate to the comment about government. I feel the same with philanthropy. Our dollars, I think, are often best used when we can seed an idea and let it kind of get some success around it, and then let real, like, major other funding come in after. And then, you know, we that's a good role for really fast, flexible, high-risk capital like philanthropy has. And then there's all this other landscape that comes in. So I think that's, I relate to that. Shouldn't be the mindset for government, but this special point in time is really spurring a lot of innovation, which I think is exciting across the board. So we have a little time here. I do want to leave a little bit of time for audience questions. I think maybe we'll just round out with one other piece, which, you know, when I think from Benedum's perspective, what I'd like to see in the future that would really help the landscape of how I think about our work is to have the formation of more private foundations in the state. Brad, your and Elisa's new foundation has been such an exciting addition. What you're going to be able to do and what you've already done is just like helps everyone at Benedum just, you know, we just think it's about the most exciting thing. The future of a stronger West Virginia for me, I would just say would look like a state with more private family foundations that are also providing the kind of unique capital that we provide. Brad, do you have anyone else? What does the state, the future of West Virginia look like? What's one other piece you'd like to add to it that would make for a stronger future?
I appreciate the question, Jen. I appreciate the accolades towards Wing to Wing. My wife gets all the credit, so thank you. I'll pass that along to her.
We will happily give that to her.
I would say we all often get asked, well, how are we going to get more investments in West Virginia? How will we get more grants in West Virginia? And we certainly are getting our fair share and more, and I appreciate all those, but they all tie back to one thing, which is talent. Companies follow talent, investors follow talent, and we have to continue to cultivate and grow talent. Companies want to locate their offices or their headquarters in a place where they know they can get talent. And we studied this when we were launching the Ascend program in partnership with West Virginia University and the state. And we said, what are the communities, what do you need to have in your community to not only retain your top talent and stop the brain drain, but to attract others to want to move there? And the first is a great education system, healthcare system, and infrastructure. Those are the basics. And we're tackling that. We're taking that on. We have a lot to be proud of, and we have work to do. Then the second is a diversity of culture, a diversity of restaurants, a diversity of arts. We have amazing things to offer here. And then the third is something that makes you distinctive. And we are right out of a Hallmark movie. People do not want to live in vertical cities. They want to live in communities where they can go outside and live, work, and play, and they're surrounded by the natural beauties. I've said that our mountains, our valleys, and rivers used to be walls, and now they're welcome signs. And so we have what we need to not only grow and retain our talent, but to attract others, and I think that will help us really reignite the next chapter for West Virginia.
Thank you.
I just, I think about what our challenges are. I'm concerned about our workforce being one of the lowest in the nation as far as participation. And then I could start looking at how we all got here, probably great-grandfather, mother, great-great, or maybe just a grandfather and grandmother just came to the country. We need a visa worker program again that basically targets what we can bring and what skills are needed. Every state should be able to assemble how much they need, how many they need, and what type of skill sets they need. And be able to shop that the same as we do. The rest of the world is looking to come to this great country for the opportunities. No matter what you hear, the dream in America is still alive for hundreds and hundreds of millions of people. They have to know there's a pathway forward. And the borders have to be secured. We just cannot have what's going on at the borders any longer. We've got to secure them. But there has to be a proper portal that people can come in and work and earn their way, same as our grandparents and great-grandparents earned their way and what we've been able to produce. It's the immigration of this in this country that made America. It's the allies that we have around the world that keeps us a superpower. We're not the superpower by ourselves. We cannot maintain that status. And if we lose the support and confidence of our allies, if we don't get our financial house in order. And basically, and the one major thing we have, I'm more concerned today than I've ever been about the reserve currency of the world being the US dollar. There's more tax on it now than ever before. And there's a reason for that. If we use it and use it properly for the sanctions, that's the best weapon without taking our guns and missiles out and firing them at people. It's the best way to keep them in checks. But now you're at pushback. You got alliances being built with China, North Korea, Iran, and now Russia. And they're going to try to basically, and they got the Gulf states playing with them. So we got a lot of moving parts. But if we can show the resilience and strength that we can still do things, this is the innovative capital of the world, and West Virginia can be a center point for that, that changes the game. It really changes the game. And that's what we've got to do. We've got so much to offer because we produced so much over the years, and we're still got a lot of gas left in the tank. And John, like the Nucor, I know we're going through permitting. If we can't get our head out of the sand, wherever your head may be, let's just get it out of there. But if we can't get our head in the right direction and understand, we've got to be able to meet the challenges, unlike any time in our history. We've got to be able to say, okay, this is something our country needs. The building blocks are here. But if we put the obstacles up to where you can't get through them, John's going through a company. You should be pretty much along your manufacturing, getting into production by next year. They're throwing you back so far now. We got mussels along the river. And I says, I don't know of a person who's eating a West Virginia mussel out of the Ohio River. Okay? But by God, it's stopping them right now. We got artifacts. They're finding with Indian tribes. When I was governor, I'll never forget this. I was governor. I went to Standard & Poor's, Fitch's, and Moody's to find out what in the world's going on. Tell me about my state. I figured I might as well go to the bankers. They're the one rating us. So they all asked the question, do you have any Indian tribes that's in your state? And I says, I've not heard of that. I said in jest, I heard that we were the happy hunting grounds. But I don't know if any, the Powhatans maybe, but we never had any tribe that decided this was their home base. And I said, well, why do you ask that question? They said, well, it would change your credit rating. Because, they can do and compete with what you're doing with no taxation. I said, my goodness, I never knew that. Now they found some artifacts. And I think it was Indians trying to escape and never made it. And they found the artifacts of where they were. But he's going through that, another review. It's just, we just haven't been able to get out of our way. So I'm saying permitting has to be done, getting our financial house in order, but also showing a state where West Virginia, yeah, we'll take hydrogen. Yeah, we'll look at small modular reactors. Yeah, we can use our coal and sequester it. We can basically capture our methane leakage. We can do all of that and make that productive. We're able to do it. We're able to take mine water waste and turn it into critical minerals.
Yes.
This is a state with our major universities willing to partner up. But you need that partnership. And for all of you entrepreneurs out there, you should have a portal where we can work and basically show you what's available and then show you by working with the universities what you can do to bring something to fruition much quicker than you can do it on your own or that they can do it for us.
I'll just add, because I couldn't agree more with what everyone has said. I think our biggest challenge is the fact we still have an outflow. We've got to keep our talent here, particularly our young people. And the reason, as I've looked at it and talked to a number of our young people, the reason they leave is not because they want to leave West Virginia, it's because we haven't created the kind of jobs. And so the issue is that notion of job creation. The second thing, though, we need to do is we need to do what we did with Brad. Trick him to make him come back. We need to, when I came back to the university and decided to stay, I started this return home policy. And it is amazing how many talented West Virginians there are out there who really want to come home if just given the opportunity.
Nathan, I think there's going to be something on a bullseye on you.
Yeah. And so I think we can talk about workforce development, we can talk about our grit, our determination, our other kinds of things, but we've got to make certain that we keep our talent here. If we can keep our talent here, and that's going to require us to do what this is all about. It's about improving our education system. It's about differentiating ourselves as a land-grant institution. We are all about making certain that we discover the cure for cancer, make certain the people in McDowell County have it as a result, and not that it's always published in Lancet or the New England Journal of Medicine. We have to apply what we're doing to the people who are most affected by the work that we're doing as institutions.
And I want to pick up just one thing, Jen, if I could, because these themes are all tied together. It's about talent. It's about keeping our great people here, attracting other people to come here, and solving the problems that matter most to the world. And Ascend West Virginia has been an incredibly successful program with the state, with West Virginia University, with our foundation. People have heard the stats. Over 1 million people hit the website for the first 25 jobs. 108 countries sent in applications, and we are just overwhelmed and continue to grow and scale. We'll have 1,000 remote workers in this state in the next 5 years, not counting their families. Then the AHA came along the way, Liz Vitula and others. We're going to launch First Ascent in partnership, Universities United, which is to retain our existing native students from leaving. So we're going to match them with remote work. And now you will hear about Military Ascend, which is what about all those who have served our country that want to be in a state where they're appreciated and we celebrate them for what they did, and we will invite them to move here. So while we're trying to solve the visa challenges that Senator Manchin talked about, we have enough people who love us, want to come home, or want to stay, that we're going to put programs together to create that opportunity for people to be a part of this. So stay tuned.
And that has been the aha, which is the fact we discovered that people really want to stay here and want to come here. And it's been so affirming, I think, to all of us.
Yeah, and congratulations on the whole Ascend. I mean, it seems just the right time with the right approach and more successful than what other states have tried. And building on the nature aspect of it is just so clever and just seems like it is just central to quality life. So
team effort.
Let me just say the education, what you all have done here with the forum, this is an energy forum. I don't know if any energy job is not a good paying job. All energy jobs are good paying jobs, okay? They take a lot of skill sets. And the bottom line is we are on the cusp of really just exploding as far as in all different forms of energy. They're all looking here. We just have to make sure they know they're welcome. We'll do the heavy lifting. Basically, we want a good job, we want a good return, we want a good tax base and things of that sort. And with the legislature working in that arena, opening up more, I know that coal is as our culture, it's who we are, and that'll never leave us. But coal has so much more value. And that's the thing, we can't think that we're done with coal. Coal has so much more value than just as we've been using it for 100 plus years, but also making the steel, but all the carbon, and also the new technologies that we're using so much carbon in. But with that, and I'm telling you, the hydrogen is going to be big, okay? The new types of pipe, or if there's any way to coat the existing pipes so that we can use the existing pipelines, we have to re-sleeve them, all this has to be used. Let me give you another thing we need help with, the permitting. As hard as it is to build a new pipeline, shouldn't we have to, if we retrofit the existing pipelines, be able to do that without going through 5 years of permitting?
Absolutely.
It should be accelerated, those types of things. That's what we're trying to do. If they know that West Virginia is open for that common sense of moving energy forward, this is the place you want to be. If you're going to be in the energy business, going to be in the steel-making business, whatever. We accept, we welcome you, and we're your partner. And I just think that I see so much opportunity. And every part of it, whether it's batteries, electric, whether it's basically, whether it's form energy of battery storage. I think, Marvin, is what, 1,000? They make it, is it 1,000? Huh? 750? Okay, it's unbelievable the amount of things that we can do if we had to be able to store the clean energy that we can make. Wind and solar, 4 hours, 5 hours is it. These new batteries now, 100 hours. Can back up a whole damn utility system, a whole complete utility system. You can back up basically, if you needed a reserve. So we have so much on the cutting edge that's being done in this state. And the only thing we've done with the credits, so you'll know, the credits are basically, as your partnership, we're trying to minimize your risk. There's risk in all of this. But if the federal government's willing to say, I'm your partner, I'll take part of that risk, we're investing in that. And that's the difference. That's what Europe's looking at now. How do they compete with us? They're having a hard time because they have to basically take from one to the other. We took a new stream of cash, about the 15% minimum corporate tax, and basically used that to invest it back to an infusion of new manufacturing. So the workforce is what I'm worried about. Having the education and skill sets is the other thing we got to make sure that we're doing. And Sarah and all the people that are doing that, and all the legislators who are involved in that, have to make sure that supply line is kept open and running. If not, we're in trouble. We'll hit the wall quick.
Yeah, we're kind of a center of common sense awash in stupidity, aren't we?
We're going to need a security detail for you as well.
Well, Senator Manchin's long earned and work in this space, I just want to share with the audience, back in September, Pittsburgh hosted a Global Clean Energy Action Forum. It was the 7th one. This brought together the energy ministers of the 32 most progressive countries that are trying to really solve for all the things that are being discussed here with nuclear, hydrogen, all of these cutting edge technologies. And Senator Manchin was the only person from the U.S. Congress that I think was asked to be there and did a personal interview with the president of Carnegie Mellon University, and that was an audience of thousands. And so I guess it's just also thank you for even sharing some of the nuance of how this really looks and all of the things that you have to take into the calculus when you're leading us through these big decisions in Congress. So it goes to show really how you are drawn upon.
Yeah, let me just tell you this: the bills are so complicated, and people don't know what the credits are, what they're able to tune into. You need to get a hold of our office. I have my energy committee, and Renee Black is my energy director. And if you'll just contact our office, you get on the website, whatever, we can walk you through whatever business you're in and whatever credit you might think you might get or don't know if there's any credits in your category. We can walk you through some advantages. First of all, just being in West Virginia, 48C tax credit. We put $4 billion. I put $4 billion in the bipartisan infrastructure bill. $4 billion that could only be used in coal country. Debbie Stabenow took $4 billion up into automobile country. So we made a deal. I take 4, she gets 4. But the $4 billion basically can only be used in the 48C tax credit of the 30%. 30% tax off the top, 30%. And then we have another 10% if it's in a directed related where there was a coal mine and you're in that area where there was a coal community or a coal plant, coal-fired utility plant that might have been, taken out of service. There's so much just being in a transition of an energy area. That's what makes West Virginia, because our whole state of some sort is almost involved in that. And there's credits that you don't even know about that we can walk you through. So we've got some pamphlets here. My staff is all around. We'll lay them around. But you just call. Anytime that we can help you, call. And Jen, you can put that on your website. We're on the website. You can get into us. We'll help you. If not, Mac will tell you where to get a hold of me. Right, Mac?
Great. Well, after this, we have a little bit of a networking break. So why don't we take 2 questions from the audience? If we've got a mic, we can run over here. We've got 2 questions, and we'll get 2 audience questions, and then let you.
Just stand up and shout it out.
Yeah. If you can talk loud enough, we'll take it.
Thank you so much. My name is Roya Maher, and I'm the owner of a small IT business located in Fairmont, West Virginia. So before my question, I just wanted to tell you, my aim in my 9-year-old business is to keep the talent in West Virginia. So I have a lot of amazing West Virginia graduates that are engineers and developers that I hire. So that's my main goal. My other question I had is, how do you guys see the role of small business in the focus forward and energy, the future of energy, and what is the plan for engaging us and utilizing the talents for the small business?
Could I start with that? This is a little known fact. 50% of all of America works for a small business, and 80% of all net new jobs will come from startups and small businesses. And those numbers get closer to 90% in West Virginia and in rural America. They are the backbone of our economy. They're the backbone of our state. And as a result, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to recognize that they are a part of this entire effort. And so what I love about what we're doing, whether it's First Descent or it's some of the things we're doing in our universities, we have an aspiration to have 100% placement of all Marshall University students in a job with no student loan debt in the next 10 years. That is to create opportunities for our businesses here in the state to get access to amazing talent. So those are the things that I see us trying to drive towards and make sure that we're striving to achieve, so that the small businesses have access to the same solutions that bigger businesses have. The other thing I'll tell you is design thinking is not to do case studies in a classroom on Acme widgets. Is to bring community problems into the classroom where we actually practice and then help the business benefit while our students learn. So we're now starting to externalize our education system in our universities and community and technical colleges to help solve things that you need in small business to help you be successful while we also teach our students. So those would be a couple things I'd put out.
Hi, my name is Tommy Lopez. First of all, Senator, I want to thank you for your unbridled work and passion for not only the United States, but for the state of West Virginia. Certainly, we can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Tom.
To our two great university presidents, as a thundering mountaineer who attended both WVU and Marshall University, and like the senator who played football at WVU and Marshall, I certainly appreciate and thank both of you all for your efforts. And my question is directed to the two university presidents. In recognition that West Virginia has one of the lowest amounts of residential solar installations in the country, but yet our peak sunshine hours mirror the state of Maryland, who has one of the highest rates of residential solar installations in the country, I'd like to ask you, one of the thoughts is that the growth of residential solar installations is predicated upon people just simply seeing the projects. In West Virginia, we don't have many opportunities where our residents are able to tangibly see solar installations in a variety of places. So starting from the university model, which are our state's gathering points, I wanted to know what plans that the universities had to do campus-wide solar so that we can actually see tangibly as residents what that looks like, and that will help grow the education of our residents to help spurn the residential solar installations, potentially solaring around our football stadiums, that sort of stuff. So to our presidents, what campus-wide initiatives in solar are we planning on?
First of all, if solar around our football stadium will help me win, I'll put it right up right now.
We'll do it. We'll harness all the sun and we'll be the best mountaineer you've heard in the world.
I think that really plays into what we talked about earlier, which was obviously the renovations of our infrastructure, our deferred maintenance. We're taking a look at how we really increase the value of what we're doing and lowering our costs. And if solar is going to allow us to do that, we'll be greatly enhanced by taking a look at exactly how we can do that. And I understand what you're saying. If you can see those big solar panels on the top of our buildings, it does give a great example. And I think that's one of the things we're going to be able to do.
And the timing is perfect because we're going through a master plan right now. We just had an amazing supportive legislative session where they're investing in deferred maintenance. And so we're investigating this as we speak. How do we take advantage of this next chapter of energy and look at solar as a great solution? And then on the other side of my life, which is the Wing to Wing Foundation, our focus is on education, entrepreneurship, and the environment, capitalizing on the amazing assets we have, which includes solar. So I think that you're going to see more energy coming from our universities and quite frankly across the state in support of this. All of the above, energy state.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
There's a lot of incentives also that individuals can do on their home and get rebates back for.
Great. Well, I think our time is up. We want to give a little kind of the lunch transition here, maybe get another cup of coffee, and we're going to move into our...
Not really a break.
Oh, did we run over? I don't wear a watch anymore.
Not really a break, stretch if you need to.
Stretch. Donna says stretch and sit back down. Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.